Crimson protagonists, this is Internet Personality Vangelis, and 3-0 has provided me with a review sample of the second entry in their MDLX figure line, Optimus Prime. Fully licensed and in the same style as the Bumblebee that kicked off the saga of MDLX, albeit in a notably larger box that is definitely harder to mistake for SH Figuarts at a glance. Let me state up front, we're going to talk about the command hand in this video, which I've been told makes this a video not intended for children. Continuing the G1-inspired redesigns by 3-0 art director Kelvin Tsao, Optimus Prime has some upkeep out of the box. First up, there's a chunk of backpack to plug on. While there's sculpting on Prime's naked back and silver paint resting against it on the backpack part, nothing in the instructions or on the box indicates this is any kind of jetpack, maybe belonging to someone called Sideswipe. It's simply more Optimus hench bulk. So I'm just leaving it on for this video. On the other side, you can pop a matrix of leadership into Prime's chest cavity, covered by a removable pectoral panel that uses a combination of pegs and magnets to stay in place. Magnets make me happy because they're magic. Anyway, as mentioned before, this is a redesign in the same style as MDLX Bumblebee, and that will absolutely jive or screech in time with your own subjective tastes. I see this piece as a bit of a cousin to both the Bumblebee movie and Dreamwave comics, smoothing out harsher contrasts from the former and de-puffing, de-pat-leeing the latter. The paintwork on this figure has a pleasantly premium feel, generally coming off as vibrant under most lighting conditions. My main qualm is one that I had difficulty articulating until I saw someone else do it in text. I forgot if it was on Twitter or Discord, but MDLX Optimus doesn't have the usual blue forehead ridge one might see on a G1 Prime, and its absence leaves an odd strip of negative space right above his optics. That said, I think those optics and the faceplate beneath them carry a lot of character that shifts and ebbs smoothly with changes in viewing angle. A gun, an axe, and oh so many hands are the accessory story of MDLX Optimus Prime, and every hand comes in pairs. Opening up with a pair of fists for punching and shaking, you can pop them off of their ball socket connection and, let me be real, it's a barbell ball joint, and it can be finicky at times trying to pop a fresh from packaged PVC hand onto there. Nonetheless, next up we've got a pair of trigger-fingered gripping hands made to hold the long, hard MDLX Ion Blaster of Optimus Prime. A pair of regular gripping hands are also included, which can hold the fairly threateningly angled MDLX Energy Axe of Optimus Prime. I just wish the handle popped apart to slide into those hands, cause I hate bending fingers on hands, pliable plastic or not. The final pair of gripping hands are specifically made to hook 2 fingers apiece into the included matrix of leadership, confidently asserting that Optimus doesn't need the thing to shapeshift itself to accommodate his big blue meat hooks or mech hooks. This whole 2-finger thing's weird to me, because, like, this came from toys with articulated hands trying to hold little matrices, and I don't know, I kind of prefer 4-handed matrix grips, but I'm in the minority now. Ditching the grippage, there's also a pair of splayed hands, and they are wide, curvy, and animated. I love the breadth of swish in these sculpts. And finally, we get the command hand. Did I say the? I meant the pair of command hands! Finally, we have arrived, my friends. 2 heroic fingers jutting solidly at the tip of each arm. Predictably, there is a lot of articulation in MDLX Optimus. Ball socket at the base of the neck, ball socket at the top of the neck. Optimus Prime's back helmet design, I think, is getting in the way a little bit of some of the top level emotery, but the bottom level more than makes up for it. Over here on the shoulders, we got some funny stuff already happening, because there's a shoulder joint, but oh, it's complicated. So to start off, you can move that part up, because there's a separate hinge that you can use to move the arm out like that. However, you don't have to always do that, because if you move that hinge back down, you might notice there's some ball sockets going on in here. There is a barbell ball socket system inside that shoulder, which I believe is using a metal barbell joint, and there's cuts in the 2 sockets so you can raise and lower the arm like this. You can get some butterfly motion going on. The one thing to be aware of is if you get too carried away and the shoulder block is here, you might just pop it out, which gets you a nice look at the inside of what's going on. And I've done this many times, getting carried away with posing. You just pop it back in, you're good to go. Doesn't pop out super easily unless it wants to embarrass me right now. I'm gonna pause the recording. Okay, I was trying to trick it. So it holds in there pretty solidly, and you also got a bicep swivel. You get a double-hinged elbow joint that can give you some good curl. There's a moving piece here to cover or reveal gaps as you may want things to be revealed. You do want to be, I think, a little bit careful. If you get too wild and crazy, you might scrape some of the silver paint in there. The wrists on those ball socket joints that made the hands so kind of annoying to put on do offer 2 levels of ball socket motion, so all of the hands are able to do quite a bit of posing, you know, twisting obviously, but it's more about this rocking motion. And even over here with a fist hand, just to show you a less splayed one, you get a fair amount of this kind of stuff, which is really helpful when you're doing things like holding weapons and whatnot. Going into the torso and jump cutting so you can actually see what's going on. We got some ab crunch. The whole grill just disappears, and hey, what's happening? Well, you can also bend backwards to reveal even more grill if you want. You can even get a little bit of side-to-side rocking, although I would say don't do too much of that on that top joint. But anyway, over here, when you do that crunch, what happens? You get to see some spine! Good DLX stuff happening on the MDLX level. Down here at the waist, we also got another ball-socketed style joint, primarily for turning at the waist, but you also can have just a little bit of rocking here and there. And in tandem with the top one, you know, you can get some organic-looking stuff going on. These hip skirts, though, you might have noticed they're already moving around. These things are weird. MDLX Bumblebee had kind of weird ones. Optimus's are weird, too. Just, like, differently weird. So they're connected in the back here by a ball joint, and the back skirt connects to the side skirt via a ball joint. So those are one assembly of pieces. And then over here, the front hip skirt is connected by a ball joint to the crotch, or I guess the belt buckle. So, whereas on MDLX Bumblebee, you had, you know, this kind of weird stuff going on. On MDLX Optimus, you have this kind of weird stuff going on. It's not bad, it doesn't pop off, as you can see, it's just like, it's weird. The hips themselves can do some pull-down jointing, because they're also on a barbell double ball connection, so that you can pull them down out of the way of some of this weird hip skirt stuff if you want to not interact with it too much, or you could interact with it a bunch. You know, it's kind of, it's up to you how you want your fate to proceed. Beneath that stuff in the hips, where the silver begins, you also get a thigh swivel, and then you get yourself a nice big old-fashioned double-hinged knee joint with linkage-style detail revealings. I don't think there's like heavy linkage going on here, it's just a couple pieces. But over here in the back, you can see some stuff getting pulled inside, which is always fun. You're just not getting, you know, like sliding thigh plates and stuff, but I think this is really cool for the size and scale. Down here at the feet, this also is kind of complicated. So on either side, you've got a bell-bottom flare that can come out to accommodate you tilting the ankle in either direction to an extreme. And then this thing over top of the foot is complicated. I'm exposing it a little bit here just to show you that this thing is on a ball socket joint, and then the stick that the ball is on a side-to-side swivel. So you can do things, like you can have this thing move left and right. You can't have it fold a whole lot down, though, which feels like something that would have been the first thing I'd have had it do, but regardless, there is, you know, there are options there for how you want the emotion of the foot to look. Also back here, this thing can get out of the way. And all this stuff can get out of the way because the foot is on a very open-ended series of joints. So up in here, you can ball socket it around. I think it's a ball socket up in there, and then another one at the bottom. A lot of these double ball systems going on, so you get lots of side-to-side action. Not extreme, but for all the bulk going on, I think it's still a lot. Forward and backwards, you have to reposition things a little bit. You get a little bit less of the upward forward stuff than the forward down tilty backward forward stuff. You know, a lot of metric system stuff here I'm talking about. And of course, toe joint, because what would be a high-end toy without being able to flex the toe? MDLX Optimus Prime is $80 American retail, $20 American more expensive than MDLX Bumblebee, and I think the boosted value is definitely there. He's got a lot of the same pros, with a solid set of accessories and a more voluminous hand feel factor. He does come with some of the same cons too, primarily in the hip skirt joint design, just being weird, y'all. Also, absolutely, your subjective tastes may simply bounce off of the art style of this line, but do try to get a chance to see some of these in person. I think there's a small wow factor that doesn't translate through footage entirely, be it still or video. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelis, and oh, look everybody! Someone's typing the old Action Masters comment about non-converting Transformers figures! Let's be supportive and leave a helpful emoji for them when they finish. While we do so, I'd like to throw an ever-present thanks to all my Patreon, Ko-fi, and now YouTube membership supporters. Without all of you, I'd have no sparkly emojis in my desk drawer. Just flat ones that smell like glue stick.